Welcome to the Metamorphosis podcast, hosted by Nora Brucker in Germany and myself, Erin Howe, in the United States. In this podcast, we talk to people about transformation and the moments and events that change us. We hope you enjoy. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Metamorphosis podcast. Recently, Nora and I had a conversation with the ladies behind the Passionistas Project. Amy and Nancy have both had rather exciting Hollywood careers, and with the onset of the thriving women's movement, were inspired to start the Passionistas Project, where they share stories of empowered, passionate, and strong women from all walks of life. In addition to our already amazing conversation, you definitely won't want to miss when they give us some details on their upcoming online Women's Empowerment Summit happening later this month. And now, on to our chat.
Hi, I'm Nancy, and Amy and I are sisters. We grew up in a small town south of Boston called Braintree, Massachusetts, home of John Quincy Adams, president. We came from a very artistic family. Our parents were both artists. They met in art school. Our father had a graphic design business all our childhood. And so I went off to college first. I'm a few years older than Amy. I went to BU and I studied advertising. And right out of college, I started my own business. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I had a graphic design company for years. My husband and I started a theater company in Boston. So we had a theater company for many years. But Amy had already moved out here. We were really missing each other. And so I moved out here into LA in 2000. And when I got here, we realized that we needed a little stability. So I took a full-time job at an advertising agency. And it was the advertising agency that did the Academy Award campaigns for Miramax Films and Paramount Classics. So fortunately, I had no direct contact with Harvey Weinstein, but he was my client. And it was really super demanding. It was the beginning of the era of being able to submit ads to newspapers and magazines electronically. Up until then, you had to put them on a piece of paper and physically deliver them to the newspaper.
So you were there for the onset of like the instant gratification. I want it now.
Instant gratification of it's 2 a.m. The press doesn't turn on till 2:30, so we're going to wait till 2:25 to make that last change and get the file to the press. So yeah, that was my life. Fortunately, awards season is short, so it wasn't 12 months a year, that craziness, but it was pretty much you started the award campaign in September, and then the awards were February, March. So it's about half the year that it was that crazy. So I with my entrepreneurial spirit to begin with, and then the stress of that job, realized like, I can't do this. I need to be on my own again. And around that time, Amy had the same instinct. So she can tell you her side of the story, and then we'll catch up.
Hello. So I followed Nancy first to Boston University. She had graduated, but I still followed in her footsteps. And I studied film and television production with the dream of coming to Hollywood and becoming a sitcom writer. But I had a really smart producer who I didn't like very much, but he was very smart. And he told me, when you come to LA, don't be so sure that you know what you want to do, because there's a lot of variety in the entertainment world, and you actually might find that you like to do something better than you've got your heart set on. So I came to LA and I ended up getting a job in post-production on a TV show called Matlock, and really liked it. And from there, instead of trying to become a writer, I decided that I wanted to get into visual effects and stay in post-production. So I did that. I worked on the movie Coneheads, and then that led me to a job at Warner Brothers, where I ultimately became vice president of post-production and visual effects for the feature film division at the studio. So I worked on about 250 movies while I was there in different capacities, whether it was just in development or just helping distribute them. But a lot of the movies I oversaw the post-production and visual effects teams that worked on the films. So all of the people who do the effects, all of the editors, sound people. We did all the audience recruit screenings where people get to give their input on the film while it's still being edited. And I absolutely loved it. I got to travel the world and work with some of the greatest filmmakers of our time. And I thought I was going to be there forever. I thought that was my plan. And then there were some changes that were made at the studio. Things were restructured, and I wasn't really interested in being involved with the new structure. So at that same time was when Nancy decided she wanted to leave. So her job. So I left the world of Harry Potter and the Matrixes and all those big projects behind, and Nancy and I decided to go off on our own. So we started working for a friend who wanted to launch a cable network, which we had no idea how to do that, but we Googled it and got some information and tried to make that happen. And although that didn't happen, it proved to us that we loved working together. So we, bounced around a bit. We had a consulting company with a friend for a while. And we ultimately ended up at a company called Get Back, which was a website that was all retro content from the 60s through the 90s. And we ended up writing a large majority of that pop culture content and realized that we loved to do that. And from there, we decided to start our own company, which we called the Pop Culture Passionistas. And we took on clients like the Television Academy and a company called Media Mine. And we started doing interviews, archival interviews for the TV Academy, where we interview celebrities and people behind the scenes in the television world. These like 3 to 4 hour sit down interviews. And we really decided that, we both found a passion for doing interviews, luckily, at the same time. And so that's ultimately what led us to start the Passionistas Project, which is where we are today.
When you guys got out to Hollywood, was it everything you thought it would be and then some, or was it a complete different vibe than you expected?
For me, it was what I expected because Amy had already been here. So I had been out to visit her many times. I had been to the studio with her. So I got to experience it through her for a long time. So it was fun and not stressful. And It was really so cool to like take the studio tours and go to movie sets with her and stuff. But once I started working here, that's like I said, it was interesting to see the inner workings of, especially the Academy Award campaigns and that sort of thing. So it was definitely eye-opening.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I think most people work on one movie or two movies for like a year and a half or 2 years. And I would work on 40 movies at a time. And
wow.
So I, literally like someone would finish a movie we'd been working on for 2 years that worked on the movie, and they'd be like, let's go have drinks. And I'd be like, I have to get a budget done for 5 other movies right now. So to work on 250 movies in your lifetime for most people is unheard of. So to do it in, what was really 7 years of my time at Warner Brothers, you kind of cover all the bases.
Wow. That is insane.
Yeah.
I think another experience we've had that's similar to that as far as the, excitement wearing off a little is we get to do the red carpet at the Emmys every year. We've done it for 10 years now. And it's really exciting and really glamorous. And it's an experience you can't even describe unless you're there. But it's also really, really, really hard work. And it's really exhausting.
Oh,
And it's September in Los Angeles, which is typically the hottest month in Los Angeles. And there have been times where one of us has almost passed out because it's been so hot. The first few years, especially, the red carpet is not covered. You're not in the shade. You're not in air conditioning. It's difficult, and it's always really exciting, and it's always really fun to get to talk to people and see the beautiful dresses and everything. But I think secretly we're both a little relieved that this year it seems like it might not happen.
Yeah, I'm half and half. As it gets closer, I'm really kind of bummed, I gotta say. The adrenaline rush of it is so much fun.
Yeah. But it definitely gets a little less exciting every year, I think. For me anyway. I don't know.
Yeah. I still like to look at all the pretty people.
I'm such a huge TV film, like going to the Emmys, like I can't even imagine.
It's crazy. And it is like the mix of people that you see, like that's some of the most fun part of it is just like, this is a random one, but like I just remember seeing Randolph Mantooth from Emergency, which was like this big 70s show, and Jimmy Fallon meeting on the red carpet, and Jimmy Fallon doing the like, I'm not worthy Wayne's World thing to him, and we got a picture of it, and it was just like, okay, I never would have thought those two people would be together. Or one time we were in the middle of an interview on the red carpet, and Nancy was doing the interview, and we're like, oh my God, she's talking to Pia Zadora, who again was like this huge 70s star for people who don't know her, and Triumph, the insult comic dog, who's Conan O'Brien's puppet friend, and Gary Johnson, who was running for president as an independent at that time, and they were there together.
In one interview?
Yeah, and they were doing an interview, and it was like, this is the most random thing that's ever going to happen to us in our lifetime. Without a doubt. There'll never be a more random moment than this. So, like, it's the moments like that we'll never, ever, ever get to have anywhere else.
So you've been still doing that with, like, the interviews that you've been doing. So you haven't, like, obviously not completely, like, quit the film business, and with your pop culture podcast and everything, the website and everything you're doing there, you continue to have your ties into the industry.
Yeah, the Passionistas Project really is still a passion project for us right now, or not. It has not become a thing where we can live solely off that. So we still have clients. We still service the Television Academy and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and a company called Media Mind. So yeah, we still have clients. We still do. We don't do as many interviews for the Television Academy as we used to, especially right now. They're not doing any, but we still have clients, and so we still get to do a lot of the fun stuff. Not that the other stuff isn't fun. We love the other stuff. The glamorous Hollywood stuff. We still do some.
Yeah. With the Passionistas Project, we really decided that we didn't want to. I mean, we've interviewed a couple of famous people or celebrities. Like we interviewed Susan Feniger, who's a celebrity chef, but really because we wanted to talk to her about being a chef, not about being a celebrity. And we really want to use the Passionistas Project to spotlight women who don't always get the spotlight. So we really shied away from making that too entertainment centric. We've done some directors and things like that, but we haven't done a lot of actors or filmmakers or anything.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the Passionistas Project and what brought that on, the inception of it?
Yeah. So, we started feeling, after the 2016 election, we started feeling sad, depressed,
a little frightened,
angry. And then, of course, the evolvement of the metoo movement and the Time's Up movement. And we were hearing all of these stories about women as victims, which were clearly really important and powerful stories that need to be heard. But we also knew that there were really empowering stories and really positive stories of women with a lot of strength and determination and passion. So we had been talking about doing a podcast for a long time, and we the obvious thing was to do some kind of Hollywood celebrity pop culture podcast. And we just felt like we didn't have a significant enough different angle on that. It would just be one of another, million podcasts. So we realized that we could use our interview skills to talk to women that had these positive, uplifting stories, and could shine a light on them, and hopefully as a way to inspire other women to follow their passions. So that's what we did. We started the podcast 2 years ago, and we've talked to so many amazing women.
Wow. Sounds amazing. I mean, I'm huge into women empowerment as well. So how about you tell us a little bit about like the fantastic people that you featured there, and what kind of stories, are you telling?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one of the best things we decided to do before we launched was that we made the choice to ask every woman we interviewed to nominate someone else.
Oh, that's great.
So, because, our connections were all publicists for celebrities or filmmakers or TV producers. And again, since we didn't want to go down that path, we knew of women that we wanted to interview. Like the first woman we when we came up with the idea, we were like, okay, who do we want to go after? The very first woman that was top of our list was Natasha Case, who founded a company called Cool House Ice Cream, which is ice cream sandwiches primarily, but they have pints now too. And she was local to LA, and it was just this really great story. They started their business out of a broken down postal truck. They were big in the food truck craze, so they bought a broken down postal truck, and they couldn't drive it because it didn't work, so they had it towed to Coachella, and they sold out at Coachella in like less than 24 hours. And now they have this multi-million-dollar international business.
That was a great marketing move.
Oh my God, they are brilliant. She's an incredible woman. So she was the first person we knew we wanted to go after, and we just went to their website and got her email address and emailed her, and she said yes. But we knew there were a lot of women that were out there that we weren't going to know, and that we weren't going to know how to find. So we decided, okay, ask everyone to nominate people. And because we did that, she took us on kind of an entrepreneurial offshoot, and we interviewed Sashi Chandran, who has a company called Tea Drops, and Dinah Trout, who founded Health Aid Kombucha. So we were in kind of this food entrepreneur space. And then we interviewed Susan Feniger, the chef, who is a big LGBTQ activist. So she turned us on to all these women like Madonna Cacciatore, who is the executive director of LA Pride, and that took us on this whole activist offshoot. And then we've met artists, and they've taken us in a different way, and authors. So it's been this incredible spider web of women, and literally they've come from all different walks of life. I mean, there's Natasha and Sashi and the food women. There's, one of our favorite stories that happened is we went to interview Madonna Cacciatore led us to Tess Cacciatore, who they are not related, but they met because of their last name. And Tess is an activist about that deals with human trafficking. That's her mission, is to help stop human trafficking. And so we walked into her house to do an interview with her, and she said, "Oh, you guys want me to nominate someone, right?" And we said, "Yeah, we'll get their name at the end of the interview." And she points to this woman sitting at her dining room table, and she's like, "This is Lynn Evola, and when you're done today, you can interview her." And we were like, "Oh, you guys know, we're not prepared to interview somebody else. Like, we don't know anything about her. We got to do our research." And she said, "Lynn takes nuclear weapons and melts them down and sculpts peace angels."
Wow.
And we're like, "Okay, yes. So when we're done with you, we'll interview Lynn right away, like without a doubt." So we've just met these incredible people, and we've interviewed a woman that has a homeless charity in Atlanta named Erica Wright, and we've interviewed God, man, who else? I mean, there's just so many women that
Yeah.
They all are special. And
yeah, we've got into this activist thing. So now we've interviewed a lot of women that we have a woman named Kat Calvin who has an organization called Project ID, and all she does is help people. All she does is help people get IDs so that they can get a job.
Wow.
And find a place to live, and most importantly, vote. And she has another organization called Spread the Vote, and it's another organization to help create voter awareness, get people registered. So there's been a whole offshoot. We have a woman that she was nominated by a woman named Jessica Craven, who has a newsletter she sends out daily called Chop Wood, Carry Water. And it's just like, do the next thing that's in front of you. And every day she sends a 5-minute call to action of something you can do. A senator you can call, a congressman you can talk to, an email you can send to for some positive action that you can take to affect change. So that's, it's just really amazing, the women that we've had a chance to meet.
There are so many amazing stories out there. And I love that you guys have taken it upon yourself to highlight them and get them out there into the world. That's fantastic. We need more women.
Yeah.
Holding up more women.
It has completely changed our lives. And we're so grateful to these women for sharing their stories with us, because they are so inspiring. And we say it all the time, like every time we sit down to do an interview, the woman we interview ends up saying at least one thing that was the thing we needed to hear that day, like whether we're not feeling confident and they say something that's about confidence, or whether we're like afraid of something and they talk about like pushing through your fear. Like every single time the message comes through with whatever they're talking about. It's been an incredible experience.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, obviously as women, sometimes think we don't really have anything that interesting to tell. And, I've experienced that a lot as well as a female founder. There's not enough role models out there who show like how badass women actually are. And obviously society is also kind of, pushing us towards that role of not going on stage or not going on a podcast and, talking about how badass we are and what we actually do and how much we accomplish. Like it's tried to be ingrained in us to not do that. And so I welcome every single thing where like women are highlighted and we actually show like, this is how we run the world. And so it's great that you've been doing that. Yeah. How have you experienced like the role of women like in your career up until that moment? I mean, there must have been a reason why you chose women to, highlight.
We've come from a family of strong women, and I think that's part of the reason why we wanted to highlight women. But we also did both work in a very male-dominated world for a long time. And I think that one of the early women we talked to said something that always sticks with me about, one of the things we love about this project is that women are really supporting each other. And we never felt that in our careers earlier. We always felt like if there were any other women there, where we were competing against them.
Isn't that horrible?
We were fighting for that one seat at the table. And this woman in one of our early interviews said, there's plenty of room at the table for all of us, So I think to me, that's the biggest message that comes through with all of it, is that we're here to support each other and lift each other up. It's not a competition. The better, the more advantage one of us has, we all get that advantage. And I just think it's so important for us to support one another and lift one another up. And that's my favorite thing about doing this project, is that community that we're building.
I also think, what you were saying is really interesting, Nora, because I do think that, we're not taught to toot our own horns. We're taught to be women, like ladies, and we stroke the male ego.
We're the women behind the strong men, right?
Yeah, and I love men. I loved working with men. I really did. I like male energy. I was always really comfortable with it. So I'm not, I'm not saying on any of this from a male bashing perspective, but we are taught, like, make the men look good. Like, I would always give the information to my boss so that he could present it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that but the other side of it is, I also think we're taught not to talk about how hard it is. And
Yeah.
I personally have come to this realization as recently as in the last week that that we always go like, well, this happened to me, but it's okay because I'm doing great, or because, oh, well, this part of it was awesome. And so we almost apologize for the frustrations or the obstacles or whatever it is. And so as a result, we feel like we're whining, or we're lucky. We're so lucky. And I will use my Warner Brothers time as an example. I was unbelievably lucky. I was 27 years old, and I was vice president of post-production and visual effects for Warner Brothers Films. I was so lucky. But there were things that happened that were crappy, and that I look back at and think like, oh, that kind of got treated badly because I was a girl in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I never talked about them for years because I thought, well, who am I to complain about that little thing, because look at all the great things that happened. And I've really realized, like, in the last 7 days, if I don't talk about those things, and if we all don't talk about those things, then those things are never going to get discussed, and they're never going to change, and they're never going to come to light, because we downplay them and we act like it's all okay, and it's not always okay. And it doesn't make you a baby or a whiner if you want to get the story out so that it can be different for the next person that comes along.
Right. And also, you say you were lucky to have been in that position at that age, but I'm sure you also worked your butt off to get there.
Yeah,
you earned
that's
it.
what I was going to say. It had nothing to do
Maybe
with luck.
a grain or two of luck, but I'm sure.
A lot of luck. But yes, I probably have never been more tired in my life until these last 2 weeks when we have been planning this Women's Equality Summit.
So let's say you earned it. You weren't lucky, you earned it.
But I will say, yes, I earned it, but there was a lot of luck, because there were a lot of people worthy for,
There's a lot of serendipity
for that kind of position. Yes. Serendipity. That's a good word. I like that. But thank you all for saying that. That's all. But it's true. Like, and again, here we go, right? Like, here's another thing. Like, we can't just, like, a guy would be like, yeah, I worked my ass off and I totally deserve that job. And I cannot bring myself to say, like,
just say that.
Yeah.
And we're always so grateful for everything. Like, everything that comes our way, we're so grateful for it. And men just want more. I think it's time that we want more.
The ever popular, oh, someone has it worse.
Oh, yeah.
It could be worse.
Yeah. Or my favorite quote of this week, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Accept the status quo. That's true.
Yeah.
So, I mean, something very exciting is coming up for you as well, right? You are actually organizing your very first summit. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yes. So, we started thinking about this a year ago because we knew that this August was the 100th anniversary of women in the United States getting the right to vote. But we also were very aware that not all women got the right to vote 100 years ago. And in fact, it was another 40 some odd years before Black women could vote in this country. So we wanted to acknowledge the anniversary because it was a huge milestone, and acknowledge the women that worked hard to get us to that point. But we also wanted to focus on the work that still needs to be done. And as we got further and further into planning it, and then COVID hit, and then George Floyd was murdered, and then the protests started, and then it just became this, like, talk about serendipity. It was like, okay, this is the moment where this needs to happen. So it's called the Passionistas Project Women's Equality Summit, and it's a 3-day virtual summit. It was going to be live and in person, but now it's virtual, and which actually worked out great too, because now we have women from Italy, and we have women from India, and it's become this global event, which is really, really amazing. And so we have 4 live panels. There's a panel on racial equality, a panel on voter equality, a panel on LGBTQ equality, and a panel on financial equality. There's a workshop every day. There are over 20 pre-recorded presentations. There's the Luna Fest Film Festival on Friday night, which is short films by women. And Saturday night is we're having a storyteller event where women are sharing very personal stories of equality. And we have Q&As with the filmmakers and the storytellers. And then Sunday, we just confirmed yesterday, we are giving out the very first annual Passionistas Persist Humanitarian Award to a very special guest that we cannot reveal yet, but that will be announced probably next week. So it's a thrilling weekend. We're working our asses off to put it together, but we're so excited for it. We have tons of women signed up for it, and we can't wait.
And there's also a virtual marketplace where we're going to connect out to women-owned businesses. Some will just be a link to their store. Some will be doing live videos. Some will do pre-recorded videos. And we're doing something similar called the Pay It Forward portal, which will link out to philanthropic organizations in the same way. So we're trying to cover as many bases as we can.
That's fantastic. And how do people find out more information on it?
The easiest way is to just go to our website, thepassionistasproject.com. There's a link there to go out to the portal for the summit. And also, once you're there, you can get the link for the film festival, because that's a separate registration. Everything's free. It's free for the whole weekend. We want as many women and men. We want men to come to this and be our allies and be educated as well. We want as many people as possible to experience the weekend, so it's free. There are tiers to upgrade to get, swag bags, and the content will only be available for the weekend for free. So if you want to access it afterwards, there's an upgrade so that you can have lifetime access to it. And the film festival is also free. There's a suggested donation because we have some charitable partners. But it is a separate registration, so you have to register for both things.
Yeah, and we're going to donate a portion of the proceeds to Girls Inc., to Black Girls Code, and to CARE. We should also mention our amazing sponsors, Nan.
Yeah, we are sponsored by Luna Bars. They're doing the film festival. LA Pride. Annette Kohler, who's an amazing IP attorney. Ubu Skills, and
Tea-Drops.
Tea-Drops. Sashi, Tea-Drops. Yes.
Well, fantastic.
That is fantastic. And what are your all's projections for the future of this? Where does this go from here?
I mean, I think that we want to keep the podcast going because we love that. We also have a subscription box, which I don't know if Nancy mentioned it at some point, but it's doing all the interviews for the podcast, we realized that there were so many women who have amazing products. And like you were saying, Nora, women-owned businesses don't often get the platform that male-owned businesses do, whether that's, marketing or whether that's funding, whatever. So we put together the Passionistas Project subscription box, which is a quarterly box. Full of products from women-owned businesses, female artisans, and in addition to the products, we tell the stories of each of the women so that you have more of a connection to the woman behind the product. Because our whole thing is about letting women tell their stories, not about us telling their stories. So we do a little Q&A with each woman. So, we want to build the podcast. We want to build the subscription box. Now that we've done the summit, we definitely want to do this annually, but also do smaller events throughout the year. We want to do the storyteller event, like we're doing a storyteller night during the summit. We want to do regular storyteller events. We're already in the works for hopefully one in October, and do more kind of, summits like this where we're tackling different topics, but I feel like we both are coming out of this equality summit realizing that equality needs to be more of the focus of what we're doing. We've been talking about women following their passions, and that's still always going to be the main overarching topic of ours. But how doing that leads to more equality for women really needs to be a component of it, because there's so many stories to tell, and women, we're really fortunate that a lot of the women that are telling their stories in this weekend have never told these particular stories before. They're really tapping into some emotionally intense things that that they've never shared publicly. So we appreciate that. And then, we have other projects. We actually make pop culture sock puppets.
Oh, that's
believe it or
fun.
not. I know that's probably just a few people probably change the station if that's the thing we do anymore. But we are planning on making a line of iconic women sock puppets, and we're going to make some products based off of that, and hopefully a web series at some point. So, we're crazy. We've always got like a million ideas going on. So for us, and ultimately we'd love to have a mentorship program where we're helping younger women, connecting them with some of these women. And, the other big kind of next agenda is where we are going to start to have what we're kind of commonly known now as master pods, where we're connecting the community, because we as women who have always been very shy and terrified by networking, we're realizing that we're becoming connectors of women, and we're connecting the women that we're interviewing, but we're also starting to see relationships building among the people who are listening, and we want to now take those groups and bring women together so that they can support each other more effectively. So that's going to be our next big launch after the summit is these master pods.
Yeah, community is so important, so important.
Yeah.
And also wise words when it comes to the networking, because I talk to a lot of women and they're always like, oh, I don't want to do this. It seems like I'm asking for favors, but networking is so much more. It is what you say, connecting to other people, like-minded people, and supporting each other. That's so important.
And it's interesting you say that about the asking, because one of the women we've interviewed who really stands out, and she's doing a workshop for us in the summit, is her name is Dia Bondi, and she's doing a workshop called Ask Like an Auctioneer, and it's to teach women how to ask the big ask, and because we don't
push and push and push, not just accept what you think you can get, but ask for what you probably can't get, but you can get the next,
Yes, so important.
Yeah.
Something you said made me think to ask each individually. Do you have a favorite female icon success story, either one that you have found or one from history?
My ultimate dream interview, and the person it's funny, we always ask on our interviews, we ask if you could pick a pop culture icon from any period of time and walk in her shoes for one day, who would it be? And my answer to that is Jane Goodall.
Oh,
I love Jane Goodall. I love everything she stands for, the fact that she was the first woman to do what she did. But I also would just like to hug a monkey and hang out with a gorilla for a day.
I'm with you on that, Nancy.
So she's my person. Yeah.
I mean, she's really my person too. But the other one who just has been in our consciousness lately too, a lot for various reasons, is Billie Jean King. I mean, when you look back at what Billie Jean King did physically in beating Bobby Riggs, but also in terms of just her, sheer power in helping create a female, presence in the tennis world. Then you have her LGBTQ activism, and to this day, she is out there every day fighting for equality for women. Like, that is her mission, is all about equality for women of all kinds. And so she to us, neck and neck. It's a tie for us, Jane Goodall and Billie Jean King. Like, if we could meet or interview either one of them, we would have made a giant leap in our careers.
Yeah, she would be a fantastic one.
Yeah, both of them would be, definitely.
Yeah, we love them both.
Well, I would definitely tune into both of those interviews, and I'm a big believer in putting out into the universe what you would like to receive, so who knows? Thank you, Nancy and Amy, for sharing with us, and thank you for all you are doing in the work for women's equality. The Passionistas Project Women's Equality Summit happens later this month, August 21st through 23rd, and thanks to coronavirus, is all virtual. You can find registration information on the PassionistasProject.com website, and we will provide a link to that as well. The Metamorphosis podcast is produced by Nora Brucker in Germany and me, Erin Howe, in the United States. Thank you to all of our supporters, and of course, a huge thank you to our guests who are telling us their stories from around the globe about change and life-changing moments. For more information about each episode, check out officialmetamorphosispodcast.com and follow us on Instagram at Official Metamorphosis Podcast for an exclusive look behind the scenes and our guests. We are happy for you to leave your thoughts on each episode, and we are very much looking forward to hearing from you. This is the Metamorphosis Podcast with Nora and Erin.